up, Mafia? It's Moose here from the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. Welcoming into the show today. Now, with us being about, 30 days away from the NFL draft, and our 10 draft picks means that we're most likely going to be adding 10 players outside of a trade happening. And speaking of trades, when you add players, unfortunately, you have to release some players. So today's video is going to explore the 3 potential trade candidates before the NFL draft. Now, before we get into ours, you know what you got to do. Lock us in, subscribe to the channel. We have been told that the more subs that we get, the more chances of us going live for night 1 of the NFL draft. The bosses came to me and they said, if you want to go live for the NFL draft for the Bills, you have got to make sure you get more subscribers. So that's what I'm asking you to do. Hit that sub button. It's completely free. Stay up to date. And again, lock us into everything Bills related. All right, so we got some potential moves in the making. 3 Bills players have been linked as trade targets prior to the NFL draft by Sports Illustrated. Now, call me crazy, but most of the time, Sports Illustrated kind of knows what they're talking about. Here's what they had to say on these potential Bills targets. While the additions have gotten most of the headline, meaning in free agency, the Bills also said goodbye to a couple of players they once hoped would be key contributors. Buffalo released Von Miller and sent former first-round pick Kaiir Elam to the Dallas Cowboys. Looking ahead to the 2025 NFL draft, the Bills could continue to send players away, especially if they find an upgrade during the draft. So, Bills' potential trade candidates before the draft has to be the subject of today's video. Now, I think these are pretty decent players to identify as potential trade candidates. We're not going to be trading away Josh Allen or James Cook or anybody that we had just signed to a massive contract. But these are guys that I feel like I've identified that not only could be potential trade targets, but also go towards cap savings as well. With our first guy being Curtis Samuel. Now, again, back and forth looking at the Bills wide receiver room. I'm not saying that Curtis Samuel hasn't been a nice addition to the team. He absolutely has. But bringing in Josh Palmer kind of negates where he fits on the roster. So a little bit about Curtis Samuel. He was drafted in the second round of the 2017 draft by the Panthers. He turns 29 years old in August, so before the actual NFL season starts, and he signed with the Bills before the 2024 season. Now, again, you're looking at him currently being wide receiver 4-ish, considering the contract that you just signed Josh Palmer to. Samuel would be one of the best 4s in the league, there's no doubt, but his 2024 production is a lot to be desired, considering the amount of cap savings that we're going to get to in here in just a second of kind of what he costs. So again, in 2024, 31 receptions, just a little bit over 250 yards, found the end zone 1 time. Now again, for a wide receiver 4, I'm okay with that. But he only played in 14 games. He's costing a little bit too much. We just signed Josh Palmer. I feel like the writing is on the wall for Curtis Samuel. Now, disagree with me if you feel free, but all things considered, you could still get a draft pick for Curtis Samuel, maybe a 6th or a 7th round pick. Maybe not in this year's draft, but in next year's draft also. So, again, when you add Josh Palmer in free agency, this kind of signifies to me they're ready to move on from Curtis Samuel. And again, he only spent 1 year with the team, so I wouldn't be too pressed to say goodbye to him. He had some good moments, found the end zone 1 time. It's not necessarily enough to warrant keeping him on the roster. So I think if you could get a trade candidate for him, and again, the cap savings is huge. If you trade him post June 1st, you save $7.3 million. Almost $7.5 million for a guy who only gave you 200 yards and 1 touchdown. So for me, I'm typing my T for trade. But let me know what you think. I'm typing that T, like I said. But if you want to keep Curtis Samuel, let me know why. Again, I just don't see it happening. Now, our second guy on the list is somebody that I've already kind of touched on and did a video on him last week, Mr. Matt Milano. And Matt Milano, kind of the opposite of Curtis Samuel. When healthy, this dude is the captain of your defense. He's a leader. He's been with the Bills forever. And when healthy, He's phenomenal, Pro Bowl caliber linebacker. Now, here's what PFF had to say on Matt Milano. The Bills have been busy locking down several key contributors who were set to hit the market, including Greg Rousseau and Khalil Shakir. James Cook and Christian Benford are still in limbo, but both will seemingly be extended. Milano could be more uncertain. So a little bit more, like I said, about Matt Milano, drafted by the Bills in the 5th round of the 2017 NFL Draft, so the same draft as Curtis Samuel, but he was an All-Pro in 2022, and he took a pay cut heading into this season. Now, the reason he did that, a lot of people are like, he's a great guy, great for the team. He did it because he wants to play for the Bills, and all of those things could be true, but he's only played 9 games in 2 seasons. He's not available. And if the Bills trade him post June 1st, they save $6 million. Or, okay, right under $6 million. But between the two of those players, you're looking at $13.5 million in cap savings for, one, a guy who's not giving you a bunch of production on the field, and 2, for a guy who's only played 9 games the last 2 seasons. And I have gone on record saying I would wait it out for Milano and give him 2025 to kind of prove himself, let the season play out, and then reevaluate after the season is over. But I could totally understand with the lack of availability for Milano and for the lack of production of Curtis Samuel that the Bills would just wave their hands and say, listen, it's been great having you. We've got to do what's best for the interest of this team and the success going forward. We're going to see you later. We're going to shop you. So like this video if you would trade Milano or Samuel. Like it just because you feel like it too. But if you really agree with trading one of these guys, hit that thumbs up button and keep us locked in as the best Bills channel on YouTube, or at least we're hoping to get there. Our last one, Mr. DaQuan Jones, defensive tackle. Now, out of all 3 of these guys, he was probably the hardest to part with, only because DaQuan Jones is actually still a very good player. I mean, look at his last 4 years. He's been really, really good. Now, that 2023 season, he only played in 7 games, but for the most part, he's always available. He gives you pretty good production. He's not going to get after the quarterback nearly as much as you like, but he's a run stopper. Interior defensive line, which is what the Bills need. Now, we did address a lot of this in free agency, signing Larry Ogunjobi, Michael Hoyt. We signed Joey Bosa to get after the quarterback. So DaQuan Jones can do more of what he does best, which is stop the run. However, the cap savings is just way too high to ignore. Almost $8 million if you trade him post June 1st. So I look at this and I go, if we're going to be entering the draft in 30 days, and most of the NFL analysts have said that we are pointing towards drafting a defensive tackle, it might be too big to ignore, and shopping DaQuan Jones would be the right move. Now, again, what you would get out of that, not entirely sure. That would be up to Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott to discuss between themselves and then make phone calls on. But with the cap savings and the fact that we have been linked to drafting a defensive tackle, it seems to me that that could be another idea and another kind of in-the-motion plan to make a trade. So those 3 players by themselves, all 3 of them, your cap savings is over $20 million. But if you have another player in mind that you would want to trade, if any, doesn't have to be any, name a player in the comment section below. I'm going to make this the pinned comment of today's video. I want to see as many replies as possible. And those are 3 trade targets before the NFL draft that again, all of those are post-June 1st trades, but we're still before the draft, so I've identified them kind of before the draft as well. That's going to do it for us on today's episode of the Bills Breakdown. My name is Moose. Until next time, be cool.